Have you ever walked into Bath and Body Works, planning to buy one thing, only to stop, take a deep breath, and suddenly feel comfortable, maybe nostalgic, maybe relaxed, maybe happier than you expected? Most people assume it's because they're surrounded by candles, or soaps, or perfume. But here's the strange part. Those feelings often begin before you ever pick anything up, before you smell a candle, before you test a fragrance, before you even decide where you're walking. Because the moment you step through those doors, something has already started influencing your brain. Not with signs, not with discounts, not with salespeople, with scent. And once you recognize what Bath and Body Works is actually doing, it's surprisingly difficult to unsee. This channel is all about uncovering the hidden psychology behind the world's biggest businesses, so you can recognize the systems influencing your money, your decisions, and your everyday life. At first, Bath and Body Works seems incredibly straightforward. They sell scented products. Of course, the store smells amazing. End of story. Except, that's not actually what makes the experience so memorable. Because if their only goal were to make the store smell nice, they could simply pump fragrance through the air conditioning. Instead, they've built something much more intentional. Something that quietly changes how long you stay, how comfortable you feel, and even how your brain remembers the store after you leave. And the fascinating part is that your nose notices it long before your conscious mind does. By the end of this video, you'll understand why walking into Bath and Body Works feels so different from almost every other retail store, and why one invisible detail has become one of the company's most powerful business tools. When most people think about scent marketing, they imagine stores deliberately making the air smell good, hoping customers will enjoy shopping a little more. And to be fair, that's not completely wrong. Research has shown for years that pleasant scents can influence how people feel in a retail environment. Customers often stay longer, rate stores more positively, and sometimes they're even willing to spend a little more. But Bath and Body Works isn't interesting because they use scent. Lots of businesses do that, hotels do it, casinos do it, luxury clothing stores do it, even some grocery stores do it. What makes Bath and Body Works different is that scent isn't simply part of the experience. In many ways, the scent is the experience. Walk through almost any location, and something immediately stands out. You don't have to search for the candles, you don't need to spray a perfume within seconds. The entire store already smells unmistakably like Bath and Body Works. That's not an accident. It's carefully maintained. Employees routinely demonstrate products throughout the day, testing fragrance mists, opening candles, and refreshing displays. So new scents continue circulating naturally throughout the store. Instead of hiding the products behind glass, they're encouraged to interact with the air itself. And that changes something important, because your brain doesn't separate the smell from the place. Over time, those fragrances stop feeling like individual products. They become associated with the entire shopping experience. Think about it. You probably couldn't describe exactly what Bath and Body Works smells like. Yet if someone recreated that scent in another building, there's a good chance you'd recognize it almost instantly. That's because your brain isn't just remembering fragrance, it's remembering context. The lighting, the displays, the excitement of trying something new, holiday shopping, gifts, family, special occasions, dozens, sometimes hundreds, of tiny experiences quietly become attached to the same collection of smells. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon for decades. Smell has an unusually direct connection to the parts of the brain responsible for emotion and memory. Unlike your other senses, scent reaches those emotional centers with remarkably few stops along the way. That's one reason why a single fragrance can suddenly remind you of a childhood home, a vacation, or someone you haven't thought about in years. Bath and Body Works didn't invent that connection, but they've become remarkably good at building an entire retail experience around it. And once your brain begins linking those emotions to the store itself, something interesting starts to happen. Because now, you aren't just shopping for soap, you're returning to a feeling, and that feeling quietly influences far more than most people realize. And if you're wondering whether that's really enough to influence someone, consider what Bath and Body Works does next. Walk around the store for a few minutes, and you'll notice something unusual. You're almost never committed to just one scent. Every few feet, there's another fragrance, another candle, another lotion, another body mist, another soap. Instead of asking you to choose between two products, the store quietly encourages you to experience dozens of them. That matters because our brains don't experience smell the same way they experience a price tag or a product description. Smell is emotional. You don't analyze it first, you feel it first. Then your brain starts explaining why you like it afterward. Psychologists sometimes describe this as affect before analysis. Your emotional reaction often arrives before your logical explanation does, and retailers know that. That's why Bath and Body Works doesn't simply display products. They encourage interaction. Pick it up, open the lid, spray the tester, compare another fragrance, then another. Every interaction creates another tiny emotional experience. Individually, they don't seem very important, but together, they create something much bigger. Because every pleasant scent, every seasonal display, every product you test makes the environment feel a little more rewarding. And when an environment feels rewarding, people naturally spend more time there, not because they're forced to, because leaving doesn't feel quite as satisfying as staying. This is one of the oldest ideas in behavioral psychology. Behaviors followed by positive experiences become easier to repeat. The longer you stay, the more products you discover, and the more products you discover, the more likely one of them reminds you of something meaningful. Maybe Christmas morning, fresh laundry, a beach vacation, pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, a grandparent's house. Those memories aren't being created inside the store, they're being activated. Bath and Body Works simply provides the trigger. And once a product becomes connected to one of your own memories, you're no longer comparing ingredients or even fragrance notes, you're comparing feelings. That's a very different kind of decision, because people rarely ask themselves, which lotion is objectively the best? Instead, they ask, which one feels right? That subtle difference changes almost everything, and that's what makes Bath and Body Works so fascinating. The real product isn't just lotion, or candles, or perfume, it's emotional familiarity. That's what makes Bath and Body Works' signature scents so recognizable. They're not just fragrances anymore. They've become emotional cues your brain has learned to associate with the entire experience. Because the company isn't trying to convince you that a fragrance smells good, they're trying to make that fragrance feel like it already belongs in your life. And once something feels familiar, it also starts feeling trustworthy. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. The more often we're exposed to something, the more positively we tend to feel about it. Not because we've carefully evaluated it, but because our brains naturally become more comfortable with what's familiar. That's why seeing the same logo over and over can make a brand feel more reliable. It's why hearing the same song repeatedly often makes you like it more. And it's one reason Bath and Body Works keeps inviting customers to smell, touch, and spray, and revisit its products again and again. Every interaction makes those fragrances a little less unfamiliar, a little more recognizable, a little more like something you've known for years. But here's the important distinction. None of this guarantees you'll buy something. Human behavior is far more complicated than that. What it does do is quietly change the starting point of your decision. Instead of asking, "Do I like this?" your brain may already be asking, "How much do I like this?" That's a subtle shift, but subtle shifts repeated millions of times can become incredibly powerful business strategies. And Bath and Body Works isn't unique. It's simply one of the clearest examples. Once you start looking for these patterns, you'll see them almost everywhere. Coffee shops that fill the air with freshly brewed coffee, hotels with signature lobby scents, luxury stores that smell the same no matter which city you're in. Even businesses that have nothing to do with fragrance are asking the same question. How do we make this place feel familiar? Because familiarity changes behavior, not by forcing people, but by making their decisions feel a little easier. That's why understanding the psychology matters. The goal isn't to avoid Bath and Body Works or to stop enjoying the experience. The goal is to recognize when a business is designing for your instincts instead of just your needs. Because once you can recognize the system, you become more intentional about your own decisions, not just in a store like this, but everywhere. And that's the bigger lesson. The world's most successful businesses rarely invent new human behavior. They study the behavior that's already there, then build experiences around it. Bath and Body Works didn't teach people to associate scent with emotion. Your brain was doing that long before the company existed. And that's what makes studying businesses so fascinating. They're often treated as collections of products or clever marketing campaigns. But underneath all of that, they're really reflections of human behavior. Every successful company is asking the same question. What do people naturally respond to? And how can we build an experience around it? Bath and Body Works answered that question with scent. Another company might answer it with convenience, or scarcity, or status, or habit. The strategy changes, but the psychology rarely does. Bath and Body Works never changed how your brain operates. It simply learned how to work with it.